Have you ever felt too small, too scared, or just not good enough for a big task? Like you're staring at a huge problem and all you can think is, there's no way I can handle this. If that sounds familiar, then you need to hear the incredible story of a man named Gideon. Our story starts in a tough time for the Israelites. For 7 long years, they were being bullied by the Midianites. These weren't just schoolyard bullies. They were a massive army that would swoop in like a plague of locusts every harvest season, stealing all the food, livestock, and leaving the Israelites with nothing. People were so terrified they were hiding in caves and mountain strongholds just to survive. And that's where we meet Gideon. Was he a great general leading a rebellion? No. We find him in a winepress, a pit in the ground, secretly threshing wheat. He was trying to hide a little bit of grain from the Midianites. He was scared, he felt defeated, and he was just trying to get by. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appears to him and says something totally unexpected. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon must have looked around, thinking, "Who? Me? Mighty warrior. You've got the wrong guy. I'm hiding in a hole." He even says to the angel, "Pardon me, my Lord, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us?" He was full of doubt and questions, just like we often are. He felt abandoned and weak, but God saw something in Gideon that Gideon couldn't see in himself. God told him, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Am I not sending you?" Gideon's response was basically, "But my clan is the weakest, and I'm the least in my family." He was full of excuses, highlighting all his weaknesses. God's answer is so powerful, and it's for us too. He simply said, "I will be with you." That's the game changer. It's not about our strength. It's about His presence. Still, Gideon was skeptical. He needed a sign. He prepared an offering, and the angel touched it with his staff. Whoosh! Fire shot out from the rock and consumed the offering. Gideon finally realized he was talking to an angel from God and was terrified, but God reassured him, "Peace. Do not be afraid." That night, God gave Gideon his first mission: tear down his own father's altar to the false god Baal. It was a scary, risky move, but Gideon did it, even though he was so afraid of what people would think that he did it at night. This small act of obedience was the first step in his journey from fear to faith. But Gideon's doubts weren't completely gone. When the time came to gather an army to fight the massive Midianite force, he asked God for another sign. He put a fleece of wool on the ground and said, "God, if you're really going to save us through me, let there be dew only on the fleece and let all the ground be dry." The next morning, it was exactly as he asked. He wrung out a whole bowlful of water from the fleece. You'd think that would be enough, right? But Gideon asked again, just to be absolutely sure. This time he said, "Let the fleece be dry and the ground be wet with dew." And the next morning, that's exactly what happened. God was so patient with Gideon's need for reassurance. He met Gideon right where he was, in his uncertainty. Now, Gideon had an army of 32,000 men. It sounds like a lot, but the Midianite army had over 135,000 soldiers. The odds were already stacked against them. But then God does something that seems completely crazy. He tells Gideon, "You have too many men." God knew that if they won with a big army, the Israelites would boast that they did it by their own strength. So, God has Gideon send home anyone who is afraid. 22,000 men leave. Now there are only 10,000 left. Still too many. God gives one final test. He tells Gideon to take the men down to the water to drink. Most of the men got on their knees and put their faces in the water, but 300 of them simply cupped the water in their hands and lapped it like a dog, staying alert and ready. God said, "With the 300 men that lapped, I will save you." Just 300 men against 135,000. God wanted to make it undeniably clear that this victory would be his, and his alone. He then told a still nervous Gideon to sneak down to the enemy camp. There, Gideon overheard a Midianite soldier telling his friend about a dream he had about a loaf of barley bread tumbling into their camp and knocking over a tent. The friend's interpretation: this can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon. God has given the Midianites into his hands. Hearing this, Gideon's fear vanished. He bowed down and worshipped God. Filled with courage, he returned to his 300 men. Their weapons weren't swords or spears. God gave them a trumpet in one hand and a clay jar with a lit torch inside in the other. On Gideon's signal, they spread out around the massive enemy camp. Then, all at once, they blew their trumpets, smashed their jars, and held up their torches, shouting, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." The story of Gideon is an amazing reminder for all of us. God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. He chose a scared man hiding in a pit and called him a mighty warrior. He took a massive army and whittled it down to just 300 men to show that his power is made perfect in our weakness. So next time you feel small, scared, or insignificant, remember Gideon. Remember that when God is with you, you have all the strength you need to face any giant in your life. It's not about your ability, but his. Thanks so much for watching with me today. If this story encouraged you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of faith and courage. We'll see you in the next video.